Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel, and welcome back to Euro Truck Simulator 2 as we continue our journey through the country of Italy. That's the new DLC that's available from SES for ETS2. And we will just, actually, we just hit the wrong button there, so let's go ahead and go and hit the map, and we will show our journey here. We are going from Palermo today over to Bari. And Bari, this route, we have traveled this route before, but Bari is obviously a brand new territory that we have yet to discover. And so hopefully maybe after Bari, perhaps the next route that we will take will come up the backside of the boot here, up this direction, and we can get back up into more or less mainland Europe there and discover some more of those wonderful territories. But really, without further ado, let's go ahead and get things started up here, and let's go ahead and get out of Palermo and get on our way to Bari. So I hope everyone has had a wonderful, wonderful day or evening or whatever the case might be. Let's get into gear. How about that? And we are, looks like we are hauling. What are we hauling? We are hauling 17 tons of carrots. We're gonna make lots of rabbits happy. That is for sure. So 17 tons of carrots, and we're hauling them. Looks like in a intermodal container or cargo ship container there for the Maersk company. I think that's how you pronounce that. May not be, but I think that is how that is pronounced, and that is a real world company name there. They have lots of cargo ships, and I even think that they're in the cargo airline business as well. I think that they have some airliners, cargo airliners, freighters, or whatever you want to call those, that haul transport goods all over possibly the world. So anyway, let's go ahead and get out of Palermo here, and we'll try to keep the speeding tickets down to a minimum for this trip. I don't remember how many we managed to get last time, but hopefully we will be able to keep that low. We do have 619 kilometers to travel for this little job, and hopefully we can get that done and not have not have too many problems, not have any major accidents or anything like that. Now, much like the previous episode that you saw on American Truck Simulator, it is possible that I'm going to do a sort of a cut in this episode because we do have, I think, about 600 and some odd miles to travel, or 600 and some odd kilometers to travel. And obviously, our speed limits and everything are a little bit lower here in Europe than what we normally drive in the States. So, what I will probably do is we'll get out on the open road and everything and maybe get, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes under our belt here. I'll try to figure out some things to talk about if I can for that period of time, and then I will finish out the route, and then I'll bring you back in as we're coming into the town of Bari. That way we can do the delivery and everything, and then, oops, there's our first speeding ticket. I actually had just realized that I was going about 8 or 9 miles an hour over the speed limit, or I should say kilometers per hour. You know, I'm gonna most likely always mess that up. I will almost always refer to it as miles per hour or miles and such, just simply because, well, I'm an American and that's what is just instilled and drilled into my head. Not even really sure. I guess for the immersion, I do have it set for kilometers and kilometers per hour here, but yeah, I should probably just set that to miles per hour and call it good. But I do try to become a little more immersive where I am playing, if that's ETS2 within Europe, or even if I'm flying, in Flight Sim and I come to Europe, I often will at least try to research the various flight rules. And there are some differences, as a matter of fact. There's quite a number of different rules and such that govern flight operations in Europe that differ from that of the US. So that is quite interesting, and I obviously did not know that until I obviously became interested in Flight Sim. Of course, that's been very, very long time ago that my interest in Flight Sim has been the way it is. But obviously, the flight rules and stuff, you tend to learn that stuff a little bit more when you are flying online, for example, with the VATSIM network, which I enjoy doing. And you typically end up brushing up on your different rules and laws and that sort of thing. And of course, VATSIM tries to operate as real as it gets. Obviously, that's the old Microsoft motto for Flight Sim, is as real as it gets. My apologies, because my voice is a bit hoarse today, simply because of the allergies are really starting to take a bite. I was outside just a little bit ago, and we've got a little cold front that's coming through. I'm recording this episode on the 4th of April, or maybe it's the 5th of April. I think it's the 5th of April. It's Thursday, the 5th of April. So I'm continuing to sort of build up my backlog or my queue of content for you all. And we've got a little cold front that's coming through the Denver area. Today it was about 65 degrees. Tomorrow is going to be a little bit above freezing, probably not much. We'll probably hit our high for tomorrow will probably be sometime after midnight, because it'll probably take a little while for the temperature to drop on down. But we do have a little bit of a cold front coming through, and I might have talked about this in the episode of Tazewell County that you watched yesterday. This is opening day for the Colorado Rockies. That's our Major League Baseball team that's here in Denver, Colorado. And it is opening day here. The season started the Major League season started last week, but the Rockies have been on the road for the last week and so. This is basically their home opening game is taking place tomorrow. And the temperature at first pitch is estimated or forecasted to be somewhere around 35 degrees, and snow most likely will start falling before the game wraps up. Now, if you're familiar with Coors Field, which is where the Rockies play, and that is named after the Coors beer, Coors Field. It is an open air stadium, baseball stadium. So no roof or no sort of way to keep the snow or the rain off. So if it does snow quite heavily, or if it rains, they do end up usually calling the game, and we'll reschedule that. But I need to get my speed down here a little bit, because I am going a little bit too fast again. We'll set it at 85. I'll drive 5 kilometers an hour over the speed limit and see how we do there. But anyway, yeah, so the baseball, that's what's going to be going on with that. But yeah, we do have this cold front coming through, and like I said, I was outside just a few minutes ago, and the wind's blowing, and I think that I must have got some allergens or something up my nose. And anyway, I've been kind of sneezing, and my eyes have been watery and itchy and all that kind of stuff. But it is spring, and the seasonal allergies do basically take its toll on me. Now, if you remember from last time, from the last episode that we did on ETS2, we did have to come across a ferry, so I believe that we will have that once again. We will need to come across with the ferry. Of course, it's a short ferry jaunt. Most of your ferries like say for example going from mainland Europe up to or over to the UK or over to the Nordics, or taking a ferry from say northern up into Scotland over to Iceland or whatever. A lot of times those ferry trips will take 7 or 8 hours or more, and that's a good place to actually have a rest, have a sleep, is when you're on the ferry. But we don't have that luxury, and I am watching our sleep there is coming up on the indicator, so we'll most likely need to probably have a rest at some point before we get to Bari. Hopefully that's how you pronounce it. I know that there is a Bari in where is it, in Wales, and that's how that is pronounced, but I don't know how Bari is pronounced in Italy, but I will assume that it's the same. Bari. Slow down just a little bit as we come to our toll. $62 for that short little trip. Not sure how many miles that was, but well, maybe it was a couple of, maybe it was about 100 and something, I suppose, because we are down to about 460 kilometers to go for this little journey. Let's see how we're doing on the other front. So rest in 5 hours, and we've got 7.5 hours to our journey. So yeah, we will most likely need to take a rest stop before we get to Bari. Always want to try to do that, because otherwise, if you are playing ETS2, and if you're not familiar with ETS2, then I will kind of fill you in. That'll give me something to talk about, and we'll try not to break the episode up. But if I either run out of things to say, or if I think it's going to go much older or much longer than 30 minutes, then I will do an edit cut or something. But anyway, with ETS2, the whole fatigue simulation is built into the game. Of course, you can turn that off if you want to. It's within the game settings. You can toggle that on or toggle that off, and that's one feature as I kind of often kind of go back and forth between talking about ETS2 or truck sim, flight sim, farm sim, whatever. That's one feature that I wish was kind of built into Giant's farm sim, is a fatigue simulation component, because it is kind of interesting. It kind of makes you think, it makes you plan, it makes you we need to slow down is what we need to do, because we're going to get popped with another speeding violation if we're not careful. But it does make you think, and it does make you plan things, because obviously we need to we are 6 hours away from our destination, but we're going to need a rest stop in less than 5 hours. So unless we can get out on the open road and really make some time up, like I said, I think we will need to stop and rest. But it makes you think about it. It makes you sort of plan your journey and look at where you need to stop, where's a good place to stop, etc. And I will tell you that if you are playing, if you're playing ATS, let's see, that's not the. Sorry, my track IR is bugging out there just a bit. So let me see if I can reset that. But anyway, if you enjoy ATS, and if you've sort of followed my lead or maybe taken my advice on playing with the coast-to-coast map, you do have to be a little bit careful, because I will tell you that I have gotten caught out many times on the coast-to-coast map. And I'm going to adjust my cap here just a bit. Maybe that is part of the problem. But anyway, I've been called out on the coast-to-coast map more than once with regards to being out on the open highway, like say for example I-10 cutting across the southern portion of the U.S. And needing to take a rest stop because the indicator is screaming at me to do so. And we got that red light offense. The indicator is screaming at me to do so, but there's no place to stop. There's no easy place to stop to do that. And so there is our ferry, and we'll head over there just momentarily. Now again, I'm not sure how long the ferry journey is and whether we're going to get any sort of benefit from um, the time that we're going to spend on the ferry towards our rest. Take just a drink of my iced tea there. That'll help soothe my throat just a little bit. Not getting sick, I don't think. I think it's literally just allergies. And of course, if you're an American and you are new to ETS2, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, that you can you basically can get a speeding ticket, or you can get a traffic violation for turning right on red. Right on red does not exist in the U.S., and it took me a little while before I managed to figure that out, and kept getting these speeding violations. Now, one thing I will draw you attention to, if you look, and I'll pop out of camera here or pop out of the cab, if you see that manhole cover, I did install the immersive mod, and the immersive mod basically gets rid of those barriers and everything that I've been talking about oftentimes. And so it adds a little bit more immersion to it. So it's only a 20-minute ride, so $347 for 20 minutes on a boat. That's pretty good money. I guess I might have picked the wrong job, huh? All right, so we are back on the other side. We're in Villa San Giovanni. Maybe that's how that's pronounced. And I'm thinking that we're going out the wrong way there. We should have cut hard left or hard right. So my apologies for that. All right, and we're off again. But anyway, as I was saying, there's quite a few different laws and everything that basically govern traffic laws and everything in Europe that do significantly differ from that of the U.S. But you know, a good way to figure all that out is to get this game and just learn it. And I'm thinking that even I didn't even know that from the little bit of driving that I do in Europe. I don't think I've ever really done much before I started playing ETS2. So I think I knew about the no right on red law before I drove in Belgium. But it is something that we do benefit from here in the U.S. And quite honestly, I mean, it's a good way of keeping the traffic moving and everything. If nothing is coming, if the intersection is clear, being able to turn right on red is a marvelous thing. And again, like I said, it keeps the traffic moving. The other mod that I did install also that I have in ATS is the mod that removes the barricades on the roads that you cannot drive on. So we won't be seeing any of those, so I have to pay extra special attention because the barriers are obviously still there. They're just hidden. So if I'm not paying attention, I'm sitting up here talking, I could very easily crash into those barriers, and obviously that's going to not be very fun to do that. But yeah, I kind of like having those things hidden, just because it just adds a little bit to the immersion by not seeing those, because obviously we don't see those in the real world. So hopefully the driver up there in the Portman trailer truck will figure out which pedal is his accelerator pedal and start driving. Well, I guess he's doing the speed limit, so I can't fault him. I can't really fault him for that. But see, there would be a barrier right there where he's going that would basically prevent us from going down that road, since that road really doesn't exist for us, and we don't see that barrier. So that is I think it's called no barricade or no barrier. Let me look here. I've got it written down because I wanted to talk to you about these things. And just as soon as we make this corner here, I will take a look and see. Let's just get out on the highway here. or maybe it's no boundaries, but I will tell you, in any event, you can always find these things on my mod spreadsheet, but I'm going to take a look here, and it's actually called no boundaries. So the first one is HN immersive symbols, and that is the one that basically gets rid of the little icons where you like accept your job and drop your jobs and stuff like that off. And then obviously the other one to remove the boundaries is the mod that's called no boundaries. Now, speaking about mods and ETS and ATS, all that good kind of stuff, I did basically write a blog posting not too long ago, and it's still the most current posting out on my blog. If you go to grizzlybearsims.com, you can read that, and it basically talks about the mod sorting order for both. Well, it's really written for ATS, but it does somewhat apply to ETS2. The only difference might be, and I sort of reference the map mods, coast to coast and such in the blog article, but basically if you just make sure that your maps are sort of in the same order that I list them for the blog article that I specifically talk about ATS, then you will be okay. Beautiful, beautiful scenery as we're coming along the bottom of the boot in the country of Italy. Just going to take a look here. 3 hours and 49 minutes, and we have 5 hours and 16 minutes. So we still are going to have to stop. We're not making up much time. Sometimes in ATS especially, I have found that I can make up a little bit of time on the road, and I don't have to necessarily stop that much. But I don't think we're going to be as fortunate. I think we're going to have to stop. And we're going to need to stop again in about 3 hours and 39 minutes. Now, what I do, and this is strictly just my strategy. You can copy it and use it if you want to, or you can adopt your own. But basically, and this is just from hundreds of hours in this game, thousands of miles playing it, and obviously I've got $14 million there in revenue that I've made since I started this profile back several years ago. But I don't consider, unless I'm absolutely like in the middle of nowhere, I don't really consider stopping until I'm inside of 2 hours to go for my time. And what I start doing is, like, for example, coming up right here. So we're 3 and a half hours. So I'm going to sort of ignore this rest area here. We don't need fuel. We've got 3.5 hours to go. I'm going to break the immersion just slightly here, and I'm going to bring up our map. Obviously, we wouldn't be looking at our map if we were driving down the road, but maybe we would have programmed our GPS to tell us where we need to take a stop. And I think actually we may have messed up. That might have been a pretty good location there, because I don't know if we're going to have anything else that's going to pop up on this road. But hopefully I haven't made a really bad choice there. We'll have to see what happens if we're going to get stuck out with that. I probably should have looked at the map maybe a little bit beforehand, but we still have 3.5 hours. So we'll just stay with the course, and maybe I have also found that sometimes not all the rest areas and fuel stops are on the map, even though the majority of them, I believe, are. I have encountered the occasional one that's kind of snuck in. So we'll basically keep our eyes peeled, and if we come across another one, then we obviously will stop and go ahead and have our rest. But it is 4:45 in the afternoon. Of course, if we rest, that's going to mean that we're going to be completing the majority of the drive at nighttime, which is obviously okay. We can certainly do that. I'm going to go ahead and punch our speed up just a little bit, just to kind of keep with the flow of traffic. Of course, just as soon as I did that, traffic also sped up as well. So obviously that was not a good example of me giving you a tip on how to seek out rest areas, because again, if I had sought out and looked at the map maybe before I even opened my mouth on that tip, I would have chosen that rest area back there to take our rest stop. But it's okay, it'll work out. We'll just do the best that we can. I'm going to come on around this guy here, mainly because we can. Love these tunnels. I especially love the tunnels in, I think it's either in Sweden or Denmark, one of those areas, one up in the Nordics there, where the tunnels are almost like a circle. And there's intersections inside the tunnel itself as well. That's kind of unique. We've got a couple of tunnels in Colorado along I-70, heading up into the Rockies, going over the or going through the Continental Divide, I should say. Eisenhower Tunnel, which is named after President Eisenhower, is bored right through one of the mountains, and it's a little over a mile long, and it's quite a unique thing to drive in, but certainly not as unique as some of the tunnels, like I said, in either Sweden or Denmark, Norway, one of those two areas that's represented on the map. So let's just have a peek here. 3.5 hours to go, 2 hours and 15 minutes until our rest. Will we make it? We've got plenty of fuel, but we will just have to see if we're going to make it without falling asleep. The problem with, trying to drive a bit sleepy once we get within sight that 2-hour window, well, especially the 1-hour window, is our screen starts getting a bit black, simulating as if we're sort of dozing off, simulating as if our eyelids are getting quite heavy. There'll be a sound effect of a gentleman yawning, and that's quite annoying, I suppose. But that's our first sign for Bari there, so we're on the right road. Just wanting to keep my speed up, but also I want to avoid any additional fines, because this job is worth about $23,000, I believe, the payout is. So certainly want to make it as profitable as we possibly can. There's the Laughing Cow. That is some excellent cheese. Let me tell you that we can get that here in the U.S. And my wife can pronounce that. I can't. I'm not gonna pretend to pronounce what's on the back of that trailer. She can, and it is some really great cheese. It comes in a little round package, and the cheese is cut into individual little wedges and wrapped in some silver foil, and it's good stuff. Very good stuff. They've got a couple of different flavors that they sell here in the U.S. Of that cheese, and there's our first yawn, as you can hear there. I think it's lavash something, lavash kiri or something like that is how that's pronounced. I know I said I wasn't going to try, but I was thinking, well, maybe if I can try to remember how it sounds when it comes out of her mouth and try to make that same sound, but oh well. I do try to learn a little bit of Dutch. Now, I really don't have much interest in really learning French, I suppose. She's fluent in, obviously, in English, Dutch, French. Italian. She knows enough German that when we go to Germany, she does okay, and French. But I think I said that already. But I do try to pick up a few words in Dutch every now and again, and I know some of this, like, just words that don't really, I can't really make sentences or anything like that, but I know, like, what a frog is, what a chicken is, what a cat is, I know some of those kind of what those words mean or what those words are in Dutch. I know those, but it's just kind of like crazy little sentences that I can say. But needless to say, pretty much she does all the talking when we are in Europe, and I will say that some of that is for, it looks like we've got a rest area coming up here, or at least a fuel stop. Some of that is for security reasons. The world is what it is, and there are, places that we go in Belgium and places like that that may not be too kind to Americans and such, and so I usually keep my mouth shut. And let's see, is this a spot here? Is this a sleeping spot? It is. Awesome. All right. Well, let's go ahead and set our parking brake, and we're going to shut off our engine, and we're going to have a little sleep here, and I'll be right back with you. Well, good morning. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, and we've got a little bit of rain, and that is always fun. So let's go ahead and get our windshield wipers on. There we go. And at least we did not wreck, but you got to see, you did get to see what it looks like when you start getting a bit sleepy. The yawn, the screen kind of darkens just a little bit, and so that's how that works. Of course, like I said, you can turn the fatigue simulation off if you want to. It's certainly not mandatory to use it, and I'll say what I usually say in my videos where I'm talking about, these types of games, is there really is no right or wrong way to play these games. It's however you want to play it is the best way to play the game. And playing it with fatigue simulation turned on obviously is very cool, and like I've already talked about, it gives you some opportunities to do some planning and such. And I was saying I wish that they would build that into Giants Farming Simulator 19, simply because I do think it would be kind of cool if we had that. And I'm not saying that it should force you to not work a full 24 or even 36 hours or so. But I would think that, the human body can only go without sleep for so long before we start, hallucinating and seeing really weird things and doing really weird things. And obviously it affects our health and everything over a period of time. And so obviously I'm not suggesting that it forces you to not sleep within a certain period of time. Obviously there are legal reasons why the fatigue simulation is built into ETS2 and ATS the way that it is, because by law, truck drivers have to basically get so many hours of rest within a period of time, and that is by law. And I don't know how it works in Europe, but I do know in the US, drivers have to track their rest time and their work time, their drive time, and all that stuff in a logbook. I'm assuming that it's something similar to that in Europe, but within the fatigue simulation, like within the farming simulator, for example, I just think that it should give you the opportunity, if you want to work, like for example during harvest season, if you want to pull an all-nighter or whatever, you should have that ability to do that. But maybe if you try to work, more than 36 hours or something like that, either your performance is lessened just a little bit, or something there that would hopefully encourage you to get some rest. All right, well, we've managed to get within about 50 kilometers of our destination, so it looks like we're just going to make this video just a little bit longer as we almost get run over by that truck because I'm glancing over at my timer. All right, so let's go ahead and hit enter and get our ticket punched, and we will head on with the rest of our journey. Obviously, in using TrackIR, which I don't use for Farm Sim, anytime I glance over at my other screen, I basically play with just one screen. I've got the game up on one screen, but I've got a screen off to the right and a screen off to the left. I've basically got 3 monitors plugged into my gaming machine. And with TrackIR, obviously, if I look over at my other screen where I have OBS running, which tells me how long it's been recording, it moves, obviously it moves the view because I have to move my head just a little bit to be able to see that. Yeah, we're about 36 minutes or so into this video, but should only have a few more minutes and we'll be at our destination, and everything will be quite cool. I think I will take an opportunity to do a screenshot here while it's raining. I think that might be kind of cool, so I'll be right back with you. Alright, right back with you. Got the screenshot. Maybe that'll kind of look kind of cool since it is raining and it's a bit dark. If you do have both ETS2 and ATS, which is your favorite and why? I would have to say for me, I suppose my favorite really honestly is ATS, only because you know, I am American and I live here in this country, and I'm familiar with the states that, you know, ATS currently has built into the game by default. I'm talking about California, Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico, and Oregon as well. I've been to Oregon a couple of times. But I suppose I like ETS2 simply because, well, you know, I am familiar with Belgium. I am familiar with portions of Germany and obviously the UK and such as that. I do very much enjoy seeing the scenery and the different, you know, different ways of architecture and stuff that even SCS has managed to build into the game. I think that's very cool that they've managed to try to make things look as real as possible. I'm not saying it's identical, but it's as close as, you know, you would get with a game. And so I'd have to say that I guess ATS is my favorite. Now that's a cool truck. That's Air France and KLM Cargo, so that's interesting. I do have some mods that I'm running that do sort of add the real trailers and stuff in. And again, just go to grizzlybearsims.com. My complete spreadsheet is there, and that includes mods both for ETS2, ATS, as well as Farm Sim and Flight Sim as far as that goes. Looks like that truck is out of Romania based on the URL there, .ro. Let's see. It's not down that way, it's this way. The GPS sometimes is a little confusing. I won't say that it's perfect. I do oftentimes make wrong turns because I get a little bit confused as to where it wants me to go. But I've got to say this much: at least the GPS is pointing correctly. It always sort of points north, so that helps keep things situated. And let's see, coming through here, easing through, just kind of paying attention to where I'm going and looking to make sure that we hit the right spot. Now we should have the cones and everything automatically placed out for us where they want this job to be delivered to. And we'll go ahead and turn in here because I think this is where they want us. Alright, it's back there in the back. I just realized that the little flag will tell us where to go. Looks like this is some kind of port of some kind. And there's our cones. So we'll just swing right in here. And of course, could be that they want us to be the other direction. Never thought of that. Never thought that maybe they want us to come in from the other direction. Which could be the case, so let's double check that. We'll come up here and do a little UE. There we go. We hit it that time. We came in from the wrong direction, but how would we know? Alright, we hit the letter T. We're looking for an excellent delivery. Will we get it? There we go. Excellent. From Palermo to Bari, carrots, and we got $23,318. We'll go ahead and hit continue. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for watching another one of my episodes on ETS2. I hope you've learned something, and at least I hope you've been entertained. If you have any questions about ETS2 or anything that we've talked about either in this video or any of the other videos that I produce, please head over to Discord and you'll find the links to my Discord channel down below, and I'd be happy to talk to you over there, chat with you over there. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you take good care of yourselves, but also of each other. God bless you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.